And Nick Spall is a space writer and fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society. Nick, great to have you. So just how competitive is the global space race at the moment?
Well, it's increasingly competitive. As we've heard, traditionally it's sort of been about NASA and government-sponsored launches. Gradually, the private sector is requiring a much lower price, and they're turning to private companies. SpaceX is obviously the classic example of this extraordinary system. They're using reusable rockets, the Falcon 9 rockets, and as you've probably seen, the Starship is waiting in the wings once it actually works as being a method of launching at a very low cost, so that the price of launches requires private sector involvement in a big way, which is increasing. It's now called new space. We're going to see that expanding for the next 20, 30 years, so that most of the things like the International Space Station that we're familiar with going overhead will become a private-led concern.
Nick, billions of dollars are being spent at the moment on space exploration, money which could be spent on fighting poverty and other pressing issues. I'm pretty sure that many others have asked you this question. Is it really worth it?
It's the classic question. And to some extent, there is still an ongoing debate. All my understanding of the whole saga of space, what we call space race or space exploration, space exploitation, is that you get back a lot more in benefits than you put in. And that's why we're seeing, for example, we've heard about China and this decision, and also India, this decision to heavily invest. The jobs that are created, not just in space aspects, but in the whole high-tech world of space, mean that all the observers say you get possibly 7 to 10 times back what you invest. NASA maintains that they got back at least 7 times what they put into Project Apollo in the 1960s and 70s. So in terms of job creation and technological advance, the answer appears to be yes, it's a good investment. The money spent elsewhere obviously may solve short-term problems, but the long-term problem of creating a high-tech future for employment appears to be often a space one, space-related.
And Nick, we see a lot of private firms joining the game. So what role do they play at the moment in the space sector?
Well, at the moment, we've mentioned SpaceX as being the dominant launcher concern with the Falcon 9 rockets and your forthcoming Starship. A lot of other companies will follow suit. We'll see space agencies like NASA, ESA, the Europeans, and increasingly, I suspect India and China will be relying on a private approach to projects. For example, the return to the moon, Project Artemis, that NASA, ESA, Canadians, and Japan heavily investing in, they're giving it to a combination of private-led companies to build a space station orbiting the moon, and then eventually the vehicles that will land on the moon. And this private contract approach is apparently much better value than just relying on public sector-led traditional space industrial approaches. So I think the answer is we'll see in the next 20, 30 years, a much stronger private approach.
Thank you very much. That is Nick Spall, a space writer and fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society.